Hi, it's Melinda from Green the Suburbs, and I have just a few minutes, so I thought I'd give you a little update on what's going on back in the backyard food forest area. But I think I'm going to lead off here with this lawn, just in case people are afraid of overseeding lawns a little bit. I want to show you my experience with it. I had some earthworks done out front, and the digger drove back and forth, back and forth, back and forth all day long and cut a nice compacted path from one end of the yard to the other. And so I put some lawn topper mulch on top of it and planted some seed, and it just wouldn't take. So finally, out of desperation, I put clover down, and the clover grew just fine. And then I was left with tons and tons of clover in a path going across my lawn. But the next step that's happened is the clover has decompacted the yard, and the grass is starting to grow up through it now. And eventually, I'm assuming, it'll crowd it out. And once that weed has done its job of decompacting and adding some nitrogen, then the grass will take back over. Right now, it's just a nice, it's a nice blend. They don't seem to grow long enough to even bloom anymore. So I'm happy with what's happened there. Anyway, let's talk about the food forest. I've been planting, and I'm kind of in the grind right now. I've got a productive tree, and a nitrogen fixer, and a productive tree, and some nitrogen fixers, and a productive tree, and some nitrogen fixers, and a dynamic accumulator, that comfrey over there. So anyway, just trying to get the right blend so that the soil stays nice and healthy, and a mulch coating over everything because we are still in drought. Speaking of drought, I left my veggie beds empty as a concession to the drought. I don't have to water it, but the good side of that is that I've reduced my water use on this property by 40% over the last 2 years, so I'm pretty happy with that. And I've managed to keep developing the food forest. We had, it was sort of unfortunate. It was a blessing and a curse, I suppose, but we had some large pine trees that really were beautiful, but they didn't do much for the fertility of the land. So they one of them got bark beetles, and the other one had a flaw in it. It had a fork that eventually would have failed. So we had them cut down, and that has made a huge difference. Everything's kind of waking up. As you see, my first successful cover crop patch is right here. I've been trying and planting, and I finally found something that either the soil has balanced itself enough, because I just decided to put the bark chips down and let the pH just kind of take care of itself over time. So either that's happened and things want to grow now, or this is just something that my dogs don't want to eat. So it's either lupin or mung bean. I planted both, and they all seem to be the same species, so we'll see if I get blossoms or beans. I managed to get some ice cream beans also to sprout and start taking off. So I've got those interplanted here, there, and everywhere. The sweet potatoes are taking off too, and they're just, every time I got a potato that got a start on it in the kitchen, I would take it out here and bury it. So I'm starting to have sweet potatoes, and that's nice. I went through and kind of reorganized my swale situation. I've got all these little micro swales going throughout this part of the food forest, because you can't really see it, but it has a very, very small drop from the front end to that end where the bananas are. So I've got these. They started out just as check logs, and now they're really starting to take shape. I'm happy with what's going on. I just raked around and kind of redefined them, and they make a lot more sense to me now. They're And I'll connect them eventually. And this leads back to my compost pile, which is nice that it's not so visible anymore. But this little swale I'm particularly happy with because it's going back behind the fence to the back part of the food forest. So that's really nice to connect the two finally. And I'll show you how that's working. Oddly enough, it is an extremely, extremely wet zone along the fence line. I tried planting some things and they all just got root rot. I mean, they all just died. So I've moved some things out. These are bare root trees that I got on sale. And they might make it, they might not. I don't know, but I've pulled them out and given them a better chance. There's a little ice cream bean to come up and protect that persimmon, maybe. And an avocado back there. My Sissu trees, this is actually the least healthy looking one. They look pretty good right now. The other two, because they're starting to get the sun and water and conditions that they want. I'm still letting things grow if they want to. I've got a little bit of fruit happening on the trees. They're all just showing that they can, pretty much. I mean, I'm not getting big yields yet, but I'm happy just to see that they're willing to try. What else? Some more sweet potato and my lemongrass is there mining nutrients for me. Oh, speaking of mining nutrients, this spot used to just be swamped with oxalis, and it's starting to get a bit of it now. I mean, you can see it sprouting up a little bit, but nowhere near the quantities that it used to get. And so what that tells me is that the pH is correcting itself. And so that's good news. I see I've got a big bunch of it right here. And this is the swale, so it kind of makes sense that would still be acid, just because it gets so much water. But anyway, everything is starting to make more sense. The trees are well protected with their support species, and I'm adding those as I procure them. My banana fruited, sort of. It's kind of a pitiful little fruit set, but it was enough to make that pup grow up. So I'm happy with that. This part of the yard, it was just so covered in caliche that I couldn't do anything with it. So I covered it in wood chips and left it long enough that I could dig holes, and I started planting things. And then I started taking whatever was on site and building little retaining walls, and things are starting to take hold. So I'm happy with the way that this is taking shape. And I'm continuing my strategy of just edging out little bits of yard every chance I get. And so I took that section out just the other day. In the back, there's a grape that needs a new home because it's definitely not happy there. In the back, it's still pretty rough and wild, but it does have the beginnings of a pathway, and so it's starting to make sense to me too. And then the slopes here are starting to be able to get things growing on them as well. So these are black-eyed peas. I'm really happy that I finally got those. I think these are something that the squirrels don't want to eat, so I'm able to grow those as well. And I'm not harvesting these. I'm just taking them when once they're dry and replanting, and we'll see how many I can get. And that's really all I'm doing. Simple as that. Stick them in the ground. Some of them come up, some of them don't, but if I have enough quantity there, then I'll still end up covered with black-eyed peas. The nice herbaceous looking thing there is yellow bells, which is also a nitrogen fixer, so really excited to have found some of those. I just grabbed some pods off of one that I saw growing in the neighborhood, and they're just taking off, so thrilled with that.